I've always considered myself someone who doesn't mess around with their own safety. I don't stand at the edge of the sidewalk waiting for the green light. I don't wander aimlessly through dark alleys, and I always let my sister or mom know where I am if I'm out late. In public places, I stay alert, and when I get into my car, I don't waste a second. I start the engine and drive off. But as it turns out, even my caution isn't always enough to protect me from what lurks in the shadows. If I hadn't let my guard down in that fateful moment, maybe I wouldn't be trembling at every sound now. It all started early this morning, just after the clock ticked past midnight. I was sitting in my parked car outside a small grocery store on the edge of town, a place I loved for its coziness and quiet. The day had been rough. I'd covered a friend's evening shift, and exhaustion pressed down on my shoulders like a lead weight. On my way home, I decided to stop here for a snack. The area always seemed peaceful to me, if a bit neglected. Sparse streetlights, empty sidewalks, silence broken only by the rustle of the wind. But I'd never been here this late. When I walked out of the store with a bag in hand, the old cashier, a gray-haired, hunched man with vacant eyes, locked the door and turned off the lights, leaving the building as dark as a tomb. I don't usually eat in my car. It's a rule I made for myself. Don't linger in deserted parking lots, especially at night. Especially as a young woman like me who often has to run errands in the dark. But that night, something broke inside me. Maybe hunger clouded my judgment, or maybe it was the loneliness of the past few weeks. After my breakup, my house had turned into a cold, empty box I dreaded returning to. Either way, I stayed. I loaded an episode of The Terror on my phone, got comfortable and started eating, savoring a rare moment of calm. The quiet didn't last long. A sudden, sharp scream tore through the night like a knife through thin fabric. I flinched, nearly dropping my phone, and looked up. A woman stood in front of my car. Just stood there, motionless like a statue, staring straight at me and waving her arms. My car was parked nose to store with only a narrow strip of sidewalk and a brick wall between us. I could have sworn there was no one there a second ago. She didn't walk up, didn't come around a corner. She just appeared, as if she'd oozed out of the wall itself. A shadow turned flesh. She circled the car and stopped at the driver's side window. Her fingers, long, thin, with nails like claws, pointed downward to the ground. The universal gesture, roll down your window. I froze. No way, I thought, not a chance. She looked normal at first glance. Neat clothes, hair tied back tidily. But something was off. Maybe her movements were too jerky, or maybe it was the way she stared, unblinking, like her eyes were carved from glass. I always lock my doors as soon as I get in, and at that moment, I thanked myself for the habit. The woman, noticing my stillness, leaned closer and shouted, "Hey, there's someone in your back seat." The words hit like a hammer. My throat went dry. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Time stretched like a nightmare. I pictured a cold hand reaching for me from behind, a sharp blade brushing my neck, a gun barrel pressed to my temple. My fingers unbuckled my seatbelt on their own, one hand gripping the door handle. I was ready to jump out and run. But run where? If someone was there and knew I'd seen them, would I make it? Trembling, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing. My car's a small hatchback. There's nowhere to hide. Even in the dark, even as exhausted as I was, I'd have noticed a silhouette. Fear gave way to confusion. I turned, scanning the interior, empty. No shadow, no sound, just the faint smell of my sandwich and the hum of my phone, still playing the show in the background. Click. I whipped back to the window. The woman stepped closer. Now her body nearly pressed against the door, her fingers wrapping around the handle. Click, click. She yanked it again and again, but the lock held firm. I looked up and, for the first time, saw her face in the dim streetlight. Her skin was chalk white, stretched so tight over her skull it looked ready to tear. Her lips were a thin slit, like a razor cut, and her teeth, too small, too many, like a predator fish's. Her eyes, black voids sunk deep into their sockets, stared at me lifelessly, yet with a chilling mockery. She smiled, slowly, stretching her mouth into a grimace that sent ice down my spine. I didn't wait. I slammed the gear shift into reverse and floored the gas. The car lurched backward, and the woman, she clung to the handle. For a few seconds, endless, freezing seconds, she ran alongside, her steps unnaturally fast, almost silent. Finally, she let go, and I peeled out of the parking lot, leaving her silhouette in a cloud of dust. My mind raced. She wanted to lure me out, and she nearly succeeded. What if she wasn't alone? What if others hid in the dark, unseen, a robbery or something worse? 20 minutes later, I burst into my house, slammed the door, and rushed to check the locks. Windows, back door, basement, all bolted tight. But my heart wouldn't settle. Exhaustion mixed with fear, and my mind started playing tricks. In every dark corner, I saw her face. Those eyes, that smile. I collapsed into bed, but sleep didn't come easily. When it did, it brought a nightmare. It was long, vivid, chaotic. I ran through endless corridors, chased by shadows with hollow eyes. The walls moved like living things, the air thick with dampness and rot. But the end of the dream was clear. I stood before a mirror, and over my shoulder reflected her, the woman from the parking lot, her clawed fingers reaching for my throat. I woke to a sound, loud, furious banging on the door. I jolted upright in bed. The clock read 4:17. The banging didn't stop. Heavy, insistent, like someone trying to break in. Too early for visitors, too late for chance. I stood, legs shaking, heart in my throat. A thought spun in my head. Fire? Emergency? But there was no smoke, just cold air and silence between the knocks. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. "Brian," came the reply from beyond the door. Male, low, familiar. My neighbor from across the street. We weren't close, but I knew him. A tall guy with a shaggy dog named Bailey. Relief washed over me, but only briefly. "What's wrong?" I asked, flipping on the hallway light. I didn't open the door, still in pajamas, still wary. "Well," he hesitated, coughed. "Is someone with you right now?" "What?" I asked, feeling my blood turn cold. "No, I'm alone." "Why?" "I was walking the dog," he began, his voice trembling, "and I saw someone in your window. Someone strange. Not like you." The world tilted. She was here. She'd followed me. I pictured her standing behind me in the dark hallway, her eyes glowing like coals. I wanted to run to Brian, but something stopped me. Something in his words. "Brian, are you okay?" I asked, stepping back from the door. "Yeah, just a cold," he said, but his voice, it shifted. Lower, hollower, like someone had tweaked the settings. "Just wanted to check on you. And your dog. She's a girl, right?" I breathed, remembering him calling Bailey good girl. Silence, a deafening, ringing silence. Then, a creak. The doorknob turned downward all the way and stopped. A tug. The lock held, but the handle rattled like someone was pulling hard. Another tug, and another. Then, bam! A powerful blow shook the door, echoing through the walls. Silence again. I stood, not breathing, for a full minute. I didn't have a peephole, but I crept to the living room and peeked through the blinds. In the distance, under the faint streetlight, a figure walked away. Tall, gaunt, with unnaturally long strides. I couldn't see the face, but I knew it was her. She melted into the night, but I felt it. She wasn't done. I didn't sleep until morning. I paced the house, checked windows, listened to every sound. Dream or reality? I couldn't tell anymore. Maybe it was all in my head? After the parking lot, my nerves were shot, conjuring things. But was it a dream if I still heard her steps in my mind? If not, how did she find my house? A tracker on my car? Did she overhear me call Brian's name once? And how the hell did she mimic his voice so perfectly? The sun set. I didn't leave all day. I sat in the kitchen, clutching a mug of cold tea, trying to convince myself it was over. But the shadows in the corners stirred. Every creak of the house felt like a whisper. Then I heard it again. Knock. Quiet, cautious, but persistent. Not from the front door, from the basement. I froze. I don't have pets, no downstairs neighbors, just me in this house. The knock repeated. Slow, rhythmic, like a metronome. Dr. Tuk, Tuk. I stood, grabbed a knife from the kitchen table, and moved toward the stairs on unsteady legs. The basement light was out. The bulb burned out a week ago, and I'd kept putting off replacing it. The darkness below was thick as tar. "Who's there?" I shouted, but my voice drowned in the silence. No answer, just tuk, tuk, tuk. I stepped down once, then twice. Cold crept up my legs, in the air heavy with dampness and something metallic. On the third step, I turned on my phone's flashlight. The beam caught the concrete floor, old boxes, dusty shelves, and footprints. Dirty, wet, bare footprints leading to the corner where the shadows were thickest. "Come out!" I yelled, but my voice shook. The knife in my hand felt like a toy. Then I saw her. She stood in the corner, not moving, not breathing, just watching. Her skin glistened in the flashlight's beam, wet-like, and her eyes, empty as a corpse's, yet alive, burning with a ghastly, hungry longing. Her smile stretched wider than human bones allowed, bearing rows of tiny, sharp teeth. She stepped toward me, slowly, silently, like a spider stalking prey. I stumbled back, tripped on a step, and fell. My phone slipped, the light went out, and darkness swallowed me. The last thing I heard was her voice. Not Brian's, not human, but low, hissing, like wind in an old crypt. "You shouldn't have stayed in the car." Then, silence, and the cold of her fingers on my neck.